Welcome to Work Hard, Play Harder, where cash flow is king. With Jake Haynes, this is where powerful ideas, real experiences, and game-changing strategies help you maximize cash flow and build unstoppable success. Now, let's dive right in.
Hey, welcome to the podcast, the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast, and it is an absolute joy to have here with me today one of the most amazing people in my life, Kevin Weir. And Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate being on here.
So the sponsor today is ActionCOACH, and today I'd like to share with you what is the way to truly become the niche in your market and to be the most successful in the thing that you do. And I shared that by sharing a pyramid that I learned from Chet Holmes in the book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, that he wrote, and some other great stuff that he did. And in this pyramid, he talks about there are 5 levels. And the first level is the generalist. And the generalist is kind of that guy who just does his work. He may be the technician, like in the book, The E-Myth Revisited. That's the first book you should read if you're involved with business. In this book, he talks about the technician who can do the work, who understands the work, who understands the basics, who's gotten familiar with the area. And this is the majority of people who are working, actually. And the specialist is the one who goes the extra steps and gets the certifications, who gets the skills and gets the potentially years of experience, starts to know how to do the problem. He's a recognized expert and in the work that he's doing. So he is someone who can be counted on to do it the right way, he or she. And the third level is an authority. Now, when a person is an authority, they start to become recognized as the go-to person for getting answers to how do you do this job? How do you become the best at this job? An authority is a person who has gotten so much experience that they start asking people to teach them. They may be a teacher, they may be a seller of a book, they may become a speaker, they may write many papers, like in the medical profession, people are expected to start writing papers all the time on the work that they have discovered, right? That is the authority is the one who is well known in this area and carries on with this. The celebrity is the person who is so well known, they are thought out, they are sought out for their experience. They can charge anything for their work. And this can be in so many different roles. It doesn't matter, in most cases, what your professional role is. You can reach a very high level and become a celebrity because you are so well known. So many people know you. You have, you've done the marketing, you've done the research to grow, your experience in that area. You may do a podcast, you may be a national podcaster, you may have sold books and, multiple books and lots of papers. You may be on TV, you may be sharing this thing, and everyone knows, hey, this lady, she knows what she is talking about. You get this, the book helps you in getting absolute recognition in this. And, the TV series that you do, or that you start being on different TV shows and giving your expert opinion and advice. And then that's basically the level that you would reach to make unlimited income or a lot of income. The celebrity authority is that top of the line, the best. They're the ones that educate everyone else at the top level. They're the guru's guru, as it says, the person who is once in a, there's like one in each industry. But the level that you should be shooting for is celebrity. And if you start to document everything that you can do, as I've shared this about how you can go up this ladder of success in whatever role you have, whether you're an employee, whether you are an owner of a business, it doesn't matter. You can climb this ladder and then gain more value per hour in what you do for work, no matter where it is. And that's the idea from the idea I want to share with you today from Action Tax Service. I don't even know where I would start if I was going to give an introduction to Kevin Weir, because there have been years and years and years of time spent together where ultimately Kevin is an action coach, and he's been an action coach since
2002.
2002. And there was this day one time long ago where I was just brand new in business, and Kevin comes knocking at my door. And Kevin, do you remember that little teeny tiny office that I had?
Yes, I'm very familiar. I remember it well.
Yeah, I was there with a receptionist for the whole building, and it was just me back there, right?
Yep.
And I just doing my little thing, just staying busy. I mean, I was busy. I was really busy for what my one little show, what I was doing, and Kevin comes in and he says, "Jake, you need to hire a business coach." I mean, he was nice and wonderful and everything, and I'm like, yeah, I've been through that. I used to work in a big company, and they hired these business coaching companies to come and sell you a whole bunch of books to read, and it costs millions of dollars and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not doing that, Kevin, leave me alone. And he's like, well, how about if you just set some goals, and I'll come back in a month and just see how you do. And I'm thinking, Kevin doesn't know this, but I'm like, I'm the goal key, right? I've already at that time I set hundreds and hundreds of goals. And personally, I had 100 lifetime goals that I was working on. And I'm like, hey, that's no problem at all. Write down 10 goals. Kevin's like, okay, what you got? And I'm like, here it is, and take a copy. And I'm like, okay, I'll give you a copy of my goals, but I wrote down these goals, and I went on to business, got him out of the office. I worked and did everything I need to do, and he comes back a month later. And a month later, Kevin comes knocking at the door. How you doing, Jake? And I'm like, oh no. Kevin comes in, he sits down, he's like, so I got these goals. How's it going with the goals? And I'm like, huh, haven't done any of them yet. And he's like, you need a coach. You need a coach. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, all right. I guess I'll hire you as a coach, and Kevin and I began to work together. And I'm telling you what, it was amazing. We started working on these goals, and we defined what the business needed to be for my teeny tiny little CPA firm, and we began to just explode with growth. I mean, truly, it was just almost immediate and massive growth. And Kevin was helping me set goals and helping me define how to grow the company, this tiny little thing, into something bigger and bigger and bigger. In the first year, we grew about 600%. But I remember sometime in about the middle of that year, Kevin says, all right, I've been doing a good job for it. And he's like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm like, this is wonderful, and he says, well, I was hoping I could get a referral from you. And I'm like, Um, I don't know about that. If I give you a referral they're going to go to my client, and you're going to give them a sales pitch, and I'm going to look really bad. I mean, my client can literally fire me because I threw someone at them that they didn't want, and I was just super nervous, man. And he's like, well, who do you know that, might be struggling as a business, could use some help? And I immediately thought of this window installer, and he was close to my office, and but I knew he was struggling, and I'm like, okay, all right, okay, here's his name and number, and please be nice. And Kevin, did his thing, and about a month later, I get this phone call from my client, window installer, and I'm like, oh, hi, how you doing? He's like, I'm doing all right. Do you remember that coach guy that you referred me to? And I'm like, oh no. And I'm backstepping. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I remember that guy. And 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 he says, why didn't you refer to me that guy a year ago? And I'm like, well, I just didn't think of it. And and that was the beginning of a very powerful relationship between Kevin and I, because from that point on, almost every business client that was my client was working with Kevin. and or at least they were given the chance. And I tell people you should talk to the business coach, and Kevin would do a wonderful introduction that took him a few hours to put together, but it was like, here's how you can improve your business.
Mhm.
And it gave great stuff to my clients. And sometimes they didn't use it, sometimes they did. But ultimately, hundreds and hundreds of clients would be referred to Kevin, and Kevin would give them great tools and resources. And when we would work together, Kevin would hold me, Action Tax, accountable to my customer to
Huh?
just to get him the financial stuff. And this
Huh?
was something that Kevin was really good at. And I would say, generally speaking, every business owner should have a business coach. Everyone needs someone to kick them and push them and help them and prod them and walk through the details with them. And Kevin, you've been fabulous at that. I hope that wasn't too long of an
No,
intro.
thank you. I appreciate that. And it's been you and I have been working together now, coming up on 22 plus years. And it's amazing that which and here's the thing. I always tell people, you are the most entrepreneurial CPA I have ever met in my life. And the reason why I have you working with my clients is that you think differently than virtually any other CPA I've ever worked with. You're thinking 10, 15 steps ahead. You're understanding their entrepreneurial drive, whereas a lot of CPAs want to rein in their clients because of, oh my gosh, you might be paying too much taxes if you actually are profitable. And that's not who you are. And so I really appreciate your entrepreneurial thought processes with your clients and especially our joint clients. And I appreciate that you're thinking more than just tax strategies. You're also looking at business strategies and exit planning strategies, which is what a good CPA should do. And you do that.
Hmm. I remember you telling me years ago about advertising. And
Huh?
you kind of had to educate me. At first, I didn't quite like the idea, but you called advertising not an expense, but
But
an
an
investment.
investment, that's right.
And I was like, that goes against my grain, but I'm working on
Hmm.
this. I'm working on
Yeah.
this. I'm slowly accepting this. And then I began to really see, that when you use your five ways formula, right?
Yep.
Five ways formula for marketing success.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
uh, and I and I've shared that. I'm sorry, Kevin, but I have shared that with many, many more people than you and I have had connections with. It's a
Mhm.
great tool. It is a fabulous, incredible tool to
Yep.
help the business owner. It doesn't matter whether they are
Yep.
small or whether they are at the top of their rung and they're a
Mhm.
Fortune 500 company. It honestly, it doesn't matter. They got to have that five ways formula in place and doing the right things. And I greatly enjoy you giving that. So one of the things we should do in this podcast is make sure that that five ways formula is available.
Uh-huh.
If you could get that to me, I would.
Yeah.
I would love to make that available. It's
Yeah.
an
And
introduction
and
to.
what I'm going to do, Jake, is I will actually send you my super spiffy spreadsheets for both monthly and weekly five ways tracking. It's a very simple process. I'll deliver it for free. You can give it out to people for free. So yeah,
Man, that's even better.
yeah,
That's the whole kit and caboodle, and that's
yep,
what
you
he
got
is as
it.
a coach. Because the real value has always come with my clients with being able to bounce ideas off between Kevin and I and the client, right? Should we do this? Might we try this? How do we do this? How do we fix this
Mhm.
problem? How do we solve this HR issue? And Kevin has helped me personally probably 50 times and make a decision about maybe a hiring decision or a growth decision or a strategy on marketing. So all of those many things are why everyone should have a business coach. Now, Kevin, you've got it's like 300 ideas on that one
Yep,
spreadsheet, right?
exactly. Yeah.
There's so many ways to market, right?
Mhm.
To grow your business.
Yep.
So how about can you just very briefly in very summary format, can you kind of describe or explain to the customers what the five-way chart is?
So what it is that we know that there's three things every business owner wants. They want more. They want more customers. They want more sales, and they want more profit. Customers, sales, and profit. But you just don't roll out of bed and get those three. They're a function of other numbers. So, for example, the way you get customers is leads times the conversion rate at what you do for those leads. Now, once you have the customers, to get to revenue, what do you have to do? You have to increase your average dollar sale on every item you sell, and you have to increase the number of transactions. How often does your customer purchase from you on a yearly basis? Now, once we have the revenue, in order to get the profit, what is our margin rates that we have on our products and services? So those are the five key performance indicators that every business owner must be measuring. Leads, conversion rate, average dollar sale, number of transactions, and profit margins. Now, here's the secret. This is the key, and we're going to, you'll see these in the charts, is that if you increase each one of those five areas by an average of 10%, you're typically going to get a 46% increase in sales and a 61% increase in revenue by just getting 10% difference in all those five ways. And once you understand that, it's amazing where you can take your business.
I follow you like 100,000%. What he said is 100% true. I do want to go into this just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you have leads. In other words, a lead is someone who is potentially a customer, right?
Yep.
And you do advertising to get potentially interested people in your customer, and then to be a customer. And then you have to convert them into a customer. So what do you do to cause them to go from a lead to a paying customer? And you've got like 80 things that someone should do to convert a lead into a customer. Now you have a customer because they have bought at least once from you, right?
Yep. Exactly.
And then you say, what are you doing to cause them to come back again and again and again and again, right? And everyone's cycle might be different. It might be every day, every week, or once a year. Like my tax firm, most of my clients are like once a year come back and do taxes, right? But that totally varies with different companies. So you have about, if I remember right, about 40 to 50 ways to cause someone to come back more often.
Yep, exactly right.
And that is just so key. I remember implementing those strategies, and I got them to come back more than once. And so we started doing bookkeeping for them. We started doing payroll for them, and we started doing consulting for them and all this stuff. And this got them to be more than just a tax customer, right? And then that average dollar sell. Now, I will never forget this. Kevin comes into my office, and this was 20 years ago, and he says, Jake, you need to increase your prices. And I'm like, not going to do it. And he's like, Jake, you need to, you're below the average. And I'm like, but that's why I have a lot of customers. And he's like, let's increase your customers. And so I went out on a limb. And once again, with Kevin, went out on a limb, and I increased my prices. And, not a lot, but I increased them. And I'm thinking, I'm going to lose a lot of customers. I didn't lose a single customer. Right? Way back then. And then I recognized, there's a value that we give to customers. And Kevin taught this in one of his 90-day planning sessions that he does. Every 90 days, he has business owners in and he teaches them planning, right? He taught this, and I'm like, oh man, wow. Okay, let's add value to what we give. And so we looked at many, many, many ways in our firm to add great value to cause the customers to want to just come back again and again and again and do service. So those components that he talked about, they're real key, whether your business is simple and tiny or massive, in getting to the point of increased revenue. So then what were those percentages that you said? If you have a 10% more leads,
10% more on all of these five. So if you get in a 1 year period, 10% increase in leads, can you do that in 1 year? Yeah, probably. Can you increase your conversion rate 10%? Not 10 points, but even 10%.
If you get 10 customers, can you get just one more customer, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you're at, let's say you're at 25% conversion rate, at 10% is 2.5. So you're up to 27.5. Can you do that in 1 year? Yes, of course you can. If your average dollar sales $100 average, can you get it to 110 in 1 year? Yeah, probably can. If your customers see you 2 times a year, can you increase that to 2.2 times in 1 year? Yeah, probably.
On an average,
if your profit is at 25%, can you increase that to 10%, 27.5% 1 year? Probably.
Yeah.
It's those small changes that make the biggest difference. Too many business owners want to zero in on one big thing. I need more leads, or I need better margins. If you're not, think about this. Imagine if you go to the gym. If you go to the gym, are you only going to just lift your right arm and do that for 1 full year? No, of course not. You're going to exercise different parts of your body. It's the same way with the 5 ways. You do a little bit, enough work in each one of those 5 areas to make that small difference, which accumulates over time.
So, and we talk about over time, right? So Kevin would have us set goals at every one of our meetings that we went to, and he would review those goals with me at each meeting that we had. And then once a quarter, we would set a very specific set of goals that we were going to make sure were done when we came back in 90 days. Were my goals done in 90 days? No, but not all of them. But, I might complete 4 to 8 of those goals, right? And every one of those goals just built and built and built the infrastructure. And so over years that I went with the 90-day planning and the coaching sessions with Kevin, the results were amazing. I mean, I started out as a very simple one-man operation, little tiny firm. And I mean, I'm almost embarrassed. I think that I cleared 37,000 in profit that year on about 125 in revenue. I think.
I think about that.
I will never forget the fact that I gave up $105,000 job offer to come and do this, and in the first year earned 37,000. And so, thanks to Kevin, in the second and the third and the fourth year, as we really started to skyrocket with growth, I way surpassed that. Entrepreneurship is amazing, right? It's so incredible when you put your mind to it and you have a coach that helps you, get on that path and have that constant and continuous improvement. So it would be session after session after session. Kevin, we worked really actively together for, I don't know, probably 5 years.
5 years, probably.
Maybe more,
Even more, probably more.
Yeah, I would end up making other investment activities. We would end up having, instead of just me, I mean, we had like 6, 8, 10 employees in the company, and everything was doing good. I remember, though, March 15th, 2006.
Oh, I remember that day very well.
Yeah, like 2, 3 years into coaching, and I've got another office. I've got several staff. Everything's, busy and going well. March 15th is the corporate tax deadline to file. And I come into the office and everything's just kind of going and people are doing their stuff. And I go up to the tax person I recently hired and I ask, what was her name? 'Cause, yeah, I know. Yeah. I asked her, I said, so how are we doing? And she's like, oh, everything's good. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, it's the corporate tax deadline today. I'm thinking in my mind, and I don't want to be rude or anything, but so finally I go back in my office and Kevin, I'm not sure what to do.
You actually sent me an email.
Okay.
The subject line said help in big block letters with exclamation points. I open up the email and it says, Kevin, it's March 15th. I should be so busy right now, but I'm not. Everything's running smoothly. Everything's in process. I'm bored. What? And you write in big black letters, what's next? So you can't. I said, come to my office, since we were actually in the same building. And I sat you down and I said, great, you've achieved what every entrepreneur wants. It's a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. You achieved that. And I said, Jake, I know you well enough. You will want to monkey in all the little details. And I know you because you can be a control freak. You need to let that go. So what's next? And you were just stood, you were
I
just like,
think you had to hold me back a little harder than that because
I did.
you're
It
right.
was,
I would have gone back and I would have just made my staff's life miserable
yeah,
for no
yeah.
reason.
Yeah, that was a stop it, Jake. I know you. Let it run. You've got systematized. It's running well. You need to start thinking bigger picture.
hmm And we did. We looked at where do we go from here, and then
Yep.
I would end up acquiring another CPA firm, and we would look at a big process in doing that, and we did it
Yep.
together, and things just blossomed. They truly did. They blossomed very well from there. That
Yep.
lady who had done all those taxes, she would end up buying half of that firm, and
Mm-hmm.
initially, and then. Because I had my systems and processes in place, she would end up
Mm-hmm.
coming back about
Mm-hmm.
5 years later and say, I want to buy all of it. I want to buy the
Mm-hmm.
other half. And the systems were in place and
Yep.
she agreed to them. And I thought about that for about 2 minutes. I'm like, you'll abide by our agreement? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Okay, that's it.
You would sell
Exactly.
that one and then
Yeah.
go on with the next one. But all of these things, every single one of these things that you helped me put into place, these systems, these procedures, these processes for human resources and working with employees, these processes for the 5 ways chart and marketing and growing the company, right? They
Mhm.
were all a result of setting up a structure, setting up a path, getting the client, you getting your clients on a path. Can you tell me just briefly about maybe some other business that you've had that because we've only been talking about mine, but
Right.
have there been any just like incredible businesses that went from nothing to something or were
So I'll give you
successful now?
I'll give you a great story. Had a client here who's a upper cervical chiropractor, and her name is Dr. Rashay Bell. And when I first started working with her, it was her and one employee. And one of the things that made her special is that she had drive. She had all sorts of energy. She just didn't know how to channel that business drive. So what we did is we worked together about 6, 7 years, and we went from basically a two-person operation into 16 staff members, 4 doctors, different ancillary services. She went from about I think her first year, her and I worked together. She did about 200,000 revenue and basically just barely eked out any profit to pay herself. We got her to about 1.5 million in revenue with about a 25% net profit margin. And she could take a lot of time off because now she had other doctors who were basically clinic business owners and doing amazing things. And so a lot of that was, and you have to understand as a business owner, the first thing you need to have as a business owner is drive and energy. If you go into business, you need to think a lot bigger than just holding on to the little bit you have. So the question you have to ask yourself, do I have drive? Do I want to go beyond just what I have right now? Most business owners will say yes, but they don't have the fanatical passion and they don't have the process. Very rarely can a business owner self-motivate and self-systematize on their own. So I've got a whole bunch of other examples out there. I had a roofer one time, and actually it was your client that you referred to me, Fred, who's a roofer, started out with him, and it was, Jake, you're the one, hey, you need to help Fred. Fred started off $300,000, 50 grand he owed IRS, no profit. Took him about 2.5 years. And I always call him my Forrest Gump client because everything he did worked brilliantly. He just did what I told him to do. He went from 300,000 revenue, no profit, huge tax. For 2.5 years later, he went to 3.5 million, 700,000 in net profit, and the business ran by itself. I checked in with him a year later. He'd gotten up to 4.5 million, same profit margin. The business was running totally by himself. Now, What's ever
You
become a
speak of that,
brand?
Jason, Kevin. You
Yeah.
speak of that, but that is a real key and a focus of
Hmm.
what you helped me do and what you
Yeah.
helped others do was to set up a profitable enterprise
Mhm.
that runs itself
Yep.
without you
Yep.
and investment,
Yep.
right? I
Hmm.
remember so much that getting drilled in, and I remember for years thinking that's never going to happen for me,
Yep.
right? Uh,
Hmm.
and but we worked on it and we worked on it, and ultimately, I was able to walk away from the first firm and start the second firm, and this one went wonderfully, right?
Yeah.
I carried on to other businesses. We bought and sold other firms over the last or other companies over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible experience. I want to give the clients some more great bites of information, some great
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah.
So I just thought maybe you might know in the marketing category of things, the world is changing, right?
Yeah. Oh,
AI
yeah.
is changing everything rapidly, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I know that you are a part of, like, I don't know how many now, but there used to be about 1,500 business coaches
Yeah.
global,
About the
right?
same. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you're a part of a big organization, and they
Yeah.
get the best of the best. So I I remember speaking with Brad Sugars,
Yeah.
or being at one of his conferences,
Yeah.
and getting to hear his ideas that were incredible. Now,
Hmm.
you've been to some conferences with him, and
Oh, yeah.
what he's saying today are some of the most incredible ways to market your company. Do you have any ideas? I mean,
Yeah.
I might be throwing you on the spot a little bit,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah.
let's drill down in here. Now, one of the things in a huge difference between when I started in 2002, mainly it was go out, meet people face to face, shake hands, direct mail them,
Yeah.
whatever. We're in a total different world in 2024. One of the things that we have to understand is content marketing is king. Here's the thing. There's a great book out there. Marcus Sheridan wrote a book a number of years ago called They Ask You Answer. It was all about people get onto Google today and they ask a question to find information. When you have content out there that matches the question that they ask, you immediately come on page one of, or pretty close to page one on the inquiry. So if, think about this, Jake. Google now is king.
Mm,
Yeah, there's some other search engines and
yeah.
they're trying their best, but Google still is king. That's where people Google it. That's because it's become a verb.
Yes.
But guess what? Here's the thing is that what content are you putting out there that attracts those people who are looking for you? What
So
sort of
you,
blogs are you doing? What sort of videos are you doing? What
yes.
sort of content do you have on multiple platforms so that people can find you?
Mm. I like that. I like what you're saying. And so not long after I hired you, I think it was about 2006 or seven or
Huh?
something, I hired an SEO expert, right? And she still works with me today on multiple websites because you say, you get that stuff out there, but then you need someone that's a professional to
Uh-huh.
get that out on the web, right? So for
Yeah.
years, I've been, in certain categories, I've been that number one pick,
Uh-huh.
because if I hadn't, I would never have blossomed the way that the firm did
Uh-huh.
at that time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any other ideas? Any marketing tools, tricks, or what's new in the area of growth strategies for businesses?
So we have to take a look at now. Here's one thing that I find that most business owners drop the ball on, and that is referral strategies. Here's the question is, do you have a very defined strategy in your business to get your customers and clients to refer to you? Too many times we just hope, wish, and pray that our customers and clients will just refer us without a process. And that's not ever going to work. So you have to set that up with the customers right away. We should have a process approach whereby you make it easy to refer to you. You prompt them on, hey, once we get success for you, I'm going to ask you to refer out clients to me. If obviously you have to have your systems in place, you have to be delivering excellent products and services to earn a referral. But once you've done that, How do you then measure, do that? What's the specific strategy? Here's a question. What percentage of your client or patient or customer base refers back to you? Do you measure that?
Mhm.
And therefore, if you've got a patient or client base of, let's say, around 1,000 people, and you've got basically 10 people referring to you, that's basically 0.1% referral rate. What are we going to do to increase that up to 3%, 5%, 10%? Those are all the different things we have to look at in formulating scripts, processes, tools that encourage your customers, patients, clients to continually refer to you. Imagine that if all you did was just lived off of referrals. Now, you still have to do other marketing, but imagine having, instead of 10% of your new business come from referrals, what would it be like to be 35 or 40%?
Absolutely. I want to show this to you. It looks like it's not going to work with what we have, but
Yeah,
right here
yeah,
is what I have on the back of my business card, which is to say, please give me the name, number, and email address of the person that you're referring to me,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And this is something you told me to do long, long time ago, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And today I'm happy to report to my coach that we test and measure every new customer that comes in the door. And we're at 96% referral. We still do all the marketing and
Yeah.
we still get customers from all of those other
Mhm.
search processes and everything, picking up new customers, but it
Mhm.
only accounts for 4%. I'm a little like, man, I spend all that money and I only get 4%, but I'm never going to stop that because
Yeah,
that does bring in some business. But
yeah, it does.
it's that 96%, percent. And last year we brought in, I think the number was 497 new clients. And
Mhm.
so if you're getting that many referrals, you're doing something right, right?
Right.
And that is the result, uh, bar none, that is a result of every single system and thing I put into place, from adding value to what I give, the process and the benefits list that I created, right? And the processes for teaching and training staff to do and say all the right things, and the good work that we perform, and the timely responses that we give to customers, right?
Yeah.
We're known for these things, we answer emails immediately for our customers, and people come in all the time and say that their CPA doesn't answer them for
Yeah.
weeks sometimes, or doesn't
Mhm.
answer them, and we've got things in place for asking for the referral, right?
Mhm.
And we have an incredible reward. The reward is,
Mhm.
Kevin, I think you might agree with this, but the number one reward that you can give to a customer that gives you a referral is to give them a drawing to get in a ticket to the Seahawks, right?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't want to have Seahawks tickets?
Right.
Exactly.
So anyway, so we give out, we have basically about 36 or 42 seats that are given out every single
Mhm.
tax season, and we're drawing names, and people are positively
Mhm.
thrilled that they get to take their people. And I mean, the firm spends thousands of dollars on that, but I mean, we're at about 10 times the size of an average CPA firm,
Yep.
because of the referral strategy that we put into place. And
Mhm.
I've done several referral strategies. I'll tell you the first referral strategy that I did way back 2007.
Mhm.
I gave them a little card, and they opened up the little tiny card. It got mailed to them the day that they gave us a referral, and it said, "Thank you so much." And it was written by me. "Thank you so much for that referral of John Henry," right?
Mhm.
And I folded that with five $2 bills. $10, right? And I sent that out to them. And I had customers literally come years later. They would come to me and they'd say, "I can't spend the $2 bills. I love them. They were fresh and crisp, clean, right from the bank. They're untouched. I still have the five $2 bills to this day." And
Yep.
maybe they had two or three of them because they gave two or three referrals, so they had
Mhm.
10 or 15 of those crazy
Yeah.
dollar bills. That was like, that was the smartest thing I ever
Mhm.
did way back
Oh
early
yeah.
in the acquisition of the firm that we have now of
Mhm.
Action Tech Service. I mean, it was a marvelous strategy. So So thank you for, for sharing those ideas. Now it's time for talking about the fun, right?
Yeah.
So we work hard and we must play harder, right?
Yeah.
Playing harder is what life is about, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that when we started working together, we didn't have grandkids, right?
Yeah.
But now we have grandkids,
Oh,
and
yeah.
our kids were like, knee high to a grasshopper,
Yeah.
now they're
Hmm.
adults, and you got kids that have gone military and
Yeah.
working and this and doing that and all this great stuff. So what do you do now? What do you do that is fun, entertaining, energetic, to burn off the energy of all the stresses of the business and to
Well,
be with family and all those things?
and a lot of what I do for fun, I actually hit the gym at least 4 times a week. So I'm actually, I have a very defined pattern of how I like my gym time to be. So that gives me, I like being physically fit because at my age, I like to be really healthy. When you're 40 years old, 30 years old, it just comes naturally. Now that I'm a lot older, I have to be purposeful about it. But every time I do it, I feel better. Number
Something happens.
two, yeah,
What
yeah,
happened with that metabolism? Man,
I know. Yeah. Number two is I love skiing. So as a matter of fact, one of the things that I always coach my clients on is find a day to get out of the business. Just find a way. If you're all you're doing is slaving in the business, it becomes a demotivator. Find a way to basically exit stage left from your business for a full day. Let it run. It's not going to burn down, and go have fun. For example, tomorrow I'm actually going to go skiing with my son-in-law, and we're going to go up
nice.
to Silver Mountain. It's a Friday. It's a work day, but you know what? You gotta have those kind of fun days where you don't, where you just said, you know what, the business is going to be fine, the employees are going to be fine. I want to have fun. Now, the big thing that my wife and I love to do is we're travel nerds. So we love to travel. So we've been to Thailand, we've been to Europe. We love Europe. I spent 3 years in Germany. So we love to travel. This year, we're going to Chile, Argentina, and Brazil. So we're looking
Wow.
forward to that. So that's some of the fun that we like to have. And I can tell
Kevin,
you
this is
right
not to
now,
say that you're made of money. This
no.
is, you gotta plan for this, and
Uh-huh.
you
Oh,
you
yeah.
know you're actively coaching customers, your clients, right? And so
Uh-huh.
you gotta purposefully put this on your schedule
Yep, you
and
sure do.
not get involved with business so that you
Yeah,
can literally get away, and
yeah,
you may need to budget for it, but
yeah.
I think it's really incredible and critical to have balance in life.
I'll give you a real life example. I had a client several years ago, and she ran a couple coffee stands, and she had not had a vacation in 10 plus years. And so one of the things I told her is I said, okay, give me an ideal vacation you love to do. She goes, I want to do a cruise in the Mediterranean. I said, okay, how long? She goes, 2 weeks. And I said, when's the last time you had a 2 week vacation? She goes, way before I even started the business. I said, we're going to do that. So what we did is I said, by when are you going to do it? She goes, 1 year. And so I actually had her book the tickets, probably right after doing the business planning. So guess what? Everything that she was doing was systematized in the business so that she could go on this vacation. Sure enough, she took the cruise. She came back. Everything was fine. And she goes, I can't believe I actually did that.
It is
And
scary. It is
it was scary for her at the
it's
first.
hard to leave that. Yeah, leave the
Is
business.
she freaked out when I asked her book the tickets now for next year. But I didn't do it. She did it. That drove her to continue to grow the business, systematize it, train her team on all of the elements of business growth, the 5 ways, systems development, leadership, and management development, so that when she went away and did the cruise, nobody called her, nobody touched bases with her. She came back, all of her numbers look great.
Okay, you're bringing up so many things I want to just talk about very briefly. The first
Yeah.
one is with the structure that you just talked about.
Yeah.
Those are all well thought out and planned processes
Yeah.
that every business has.
Yeah.
I don't, maybe there's some exception out there, but I'm telling you, you talked about leadership and management development, and you talked about, the marketing arm and all those things. And
Uh-huh.
it takes time.
Yeah, it
And
does.
I couldn't even imagine having tried to develop. There is absolutely no question in my mind.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I'd have two or three employees now, and I would be like 99% of all other firms in the United States that are at two or three or 400,000 in revenue, maybe even 500,000 in revenue,
Yeah.
right? But I would not be 10 times that,
Uh-huh.
because I worked with you for years to
Uh-huh.
get those things set up. You talked about taking time off and how you a month in advance or a year in advance, you're like, we're putting it on the schedule. And maybe that's just what you need to
Oh,
do,
yeah,
right?
it is.
And then plan your world around that and
Yeah.
get the systems in place. What a motivator,
Yeah.
what a motivator to cause you to take action. It so reminds me about the first book, and this is the next thing I want to talk about. You made me read my first, not when once we were coaching, the first
Yeah.
book that you made me read
Yeah.
was the E-Myth
Even for
Revisited.
visiting. Yeah.
And everyone must read that book,
Yeah.
especially if you're new in business, but even if you're well into business and you're struggling. And anyway, you got to read that book.
Yeah.
So I'm reading this book and it identifies three different types of people. It identifies the technician,
Yeah.
the manager,
Sure.
and the entrepreneur, right?
Right.
And so I'm reading this and I'm like the technician. I mean, I'm doing all the tax work. I'm doing the work, the
Yeah.
work, the work,
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
I read the manager section. I'm like, man, that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read the entrepreneur type, and I'm like, wow, that's a that's very interesting. And my wife comes walking in the room at that time, and I hand her the book, and I hand her the part on the entrepreneur, and I'm like, Carrie, I'd like you to read this. And she sits down. She reads very fast. She's an exceptional reading
Yeah.
queen. She just loves that kind of stuff. She sits down, and then she scans through that little bit, and she hands me the book, and she walks away. And I'm like, well, Carrie, what did you think? And she says, I finally found something to describe my husband. And the entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
That book is
Absolutely.
that book is critical because it started to help me define who I was, right?
Uh-huh.
Who I was an entrepreneur, and I needed to build all of the systems and procedures and supports and structures and bring in the right people around me to make that happen. And that reminds me of the next thing. I'm struggling. I'm struggling with managing and staff because I'm horrible at managing staff back then, right? And
Yep.
Kevin's like, try this, try this, try this, try this, and I'm still staff are leaving me in droves.
Yeah.
And so you said, I know about this thing, and one of my clients gone through it. He says it's extremely good. It's called the forum.
Landmark.
Landmark Education.
Yeah. Landmark.
And he's like, you should try this.
Yeah.
And I went, everyone should go to Landmark,
Yeah.
bar none. Everyone should do Landmark. It's a 3-day course. You stare at yourself in the meeting for 3 days.
Yeah.
I did that course. I came back to my office and I had a company meeting. And I was able to see how my staff it was like my eyes were wide open as to how they were afraid of me. And I didn't know it. I didn't recognize it before, but now I perfectly saw it. And it very simply allowed me to help them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And since that day, turnover has been like I have employees that have been here for 10 years, 12
Yeah.
years, 8 years, 7 years, 6 years. I have people who plan on staying forever. They don't want to
Mm-hmm.
leave the firm. They love it here. The team environment is wonderful, right?
Yeah.
It's things like that that a business coach will steer you towards, will help you, define your business model. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, we've gone back to business. We got to go back to fun stuff. I'm sorry, we kind of took a little shortcut there, but
That's okay.
I also love skiing. Skiing is great. I had done it for years and years, and then I quit. And then for 25 years, I didn't ski. And I went back about 2018. I went back and I got on ski skin, and I'm like, why haven't I been doing this for the last 25 years,
Yeah.
So now every day or every year I try to get out to 4 or 5 ski resorts and take my kids, my boys,
Yeah.
and have fun with it. Any other closing thoughts, Kevin, as far as for Action Coach? I do want to
Yeah.
have a final statement, but
Yeah.
you first.
Sure. I think the biggest thing, if I take a look at somebody like you, is that you followed the system. There's a systematic process on growing a business. You always have to start off with what we call mastery. You've got to do the mastery level of a business before you can do the marketing side of things. Too many business owners want to go straight to marketing. No, you've got to have the foundation of your business in place. Once you've got the foundation of your business in place, then you can go to the marketing. But once you have the marketing, you have to create more leverage because you're going to have to hire people, create detailed systems, have detailed marketing, which then leads you to start developing your employees into a team. Because you can have employees, but if they aren't working well as a team, you're not going to progress in business. Once you get them to work well together, a team, the next level is create synergy. Synergy is where I call it the 1 + 1 = 3. Team of 10 doesn't work at 20. Team of 20 doesn't work at 40. You have to put a general manager in place. Once you have a general manager in place, then you get to what we call the results. This is where you have a business that's a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. So a lot of business owners go, that's great, Kevin, but I don't know how to get from point A to point B. This is where you do a systems-oriented process that works. It's not paint by the numbers. There are paint by the numbers processes out there that flat out don't work. But if you go through these levels inside of your business, you will get to that results level, that commercial profitable enterprise that can work without you.
And that sums it up exceptionally well. I want to just give a testimonial out to Action Coach and Kevin Weir, and that's how you can look it up online. And we'll have a link to it so that you can definitely look into him as a coach. He coaches people all over anywhere that they are. The coaches are remote, even if you're right next door. I know that personally.
Yeah.
But he'll help you either with you might be a tiny business and he'll help you get just some basics in place, and then maybe later you come back to him, or you could have employees and staff and systems and lots of customers and lots of challenges, and he helps you to go in all of those areas. He helps you find your focus, right?
Absolutely.
The key is that we should focus on that top 20%, right? As owners. That is the key to success in business. And with the help of someone like a Kevin, a business coach, he can help you get to that level where you're actually going from good to great in your business. Every business can reach that level. It does take time, energy, and efforts, and I believe it takes a mentor. I believe it takes a person with integrities and with structures and with support, with knowledge behind them to help get you to that level.
Yep.
And that's Kevin. That's Kevin. I appreciate working with you for so many years, and we hope that as this grows and expands, that your business continues to expand and grow, Kevin. So thank you for coming on. And Kevin, I'm gonna interview you again, and we're gonna get into more of the nitty gritty. I love the idea of giving the customers a whole bunch more tidbits of advice and tools, and so in our next one, we'll give them some other things that are going to help them really excel and grow their business. Does that sound all right?
That sounds great, Jake. Thanks for the opportunity, and you're a fantastic CPA. Every business owner should work with you.
Thank you. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
That's a wrap for today. Be sure to subscribe and share this with someone who needs it. Check out jakehaynes.com for past episodes and other resources. And remember, success favors the bold. So work hard, keep growing, and take control of your cash flow so you can play harder.